Ladies and gentlemen, you see there Randy Orton. Welcome to No Limits Wrestling. He is contemplating his match at WrestleMania, which is only one episode away, when he has to challenge Batista in a street fight where the loser will leave No Limits Wrestling. And in fact, last week he got on the wrong side of a couple of people, namely Shawn Michaels. During Randy Orton's match Triple H, Shawn Michaels tried to interfere, and Shawn Michaels, while interfering, was meant to hit Triple H, but instead hit Orton, and that cost him the match. He attacked Shawn and got speared by Batista afterwards, but
Well. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. What's up? How you doing, man? You know, in all seriousness, no, seriously, I am very amped about this Sunday. I am really excited about it. And you know, Shawn, I've been thinking, and I think you and I have a lot in common. You know, for instance, you use people as stepping stones all throughout your career. I mean, hell, you built your career around doing just that. And Sunday, Shawn Michaels, I'm going to use you as my stepping stone.
You know, Randy, it's funny that you say that, because I have to admit, I do see a lot of myself in you. You know, I used to like to do a little something to find out if folks were ready for old HBK.
What's that?
Here's a little advice. If you're gonna use me as a stepping stone, you better step hard.
Now get the cards, the dice, from my generation, I'll take the
this is the final episode before WrestleMania, and we are gonna party tonight on No Limits Wrestling. The final episode before the granddaddy of them all. Several matches have been made for WrestleMania, and tonight we tie up loose ends on the final stop on the road to WrestleMania, live here tonight. Of course, an incredible matchup to kick off the evening. We'll get to that in a moment. But also tonight, The Miz, Kane and Mr. Kennedy go up against AJ Styles, CM Punk and Sin Cara. All of the Money in the Bank participants competing in a 6-man tag team match tonight. And our main event, it is a Retribution rematch. Triple H is going to go one-on-one with The Undertaker, the Royal Rumble winner, taking on The Phenom. Live tonight, a rematch from Retribution on the final road to WrestleMania. Huge night of action in store live on the final show before WrestleMania. And one man who fears for his career at WrestleMania is the Animal Batista. This Sunday at WrestleMania, Batista will go one-on-one with the Viper Randy Orton. It will be contested in a street fight, and the loser of the matchup will leave No Limits Wrestling. So much to play for at WrestleMania. Randy Orton has got to be on his mind. He's tormented him for months, and it finally comes to a head at WrestleMania. Batista versus Orton in the street fight. But for now, the Animal has his eyes focused on someone else. This man, who comes out to an incredible crowd response, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. This Sunday at WrestleMania, HBK will defend that World Heavyweight Championship against the Game, Triple H. In the main event of WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels faces his former DX teammate, and you would have thought that Shawn Michaels would have Triple H on his mind after last week, when the game almost lost his matchup thanks to Shawn Michaels. I mean, we alluded to it earlier. You saw earlier tonight, to kick off the program, Michaels setting the record straight with Randy Orton, who incidentally will go one-on-one with Batista at WrestleMania. And we didn't think their paths would cross, but they did last week, and they have done here tonight. Shawn Michaels with a vicious slap to the face, telling Orton, "You ain't using me as a stepping stone." His rivalry is his rivalry, and Michaels wants him to stay out of it, as does Orton. Orton wants HBK to have nothing to do with his rivalry, but he is at the moment, because he's going one-on-one with Orton's Mania opponent in Batista. Grabs him by the throat and now throws him once again up against the ropes, and you see there, pulling the weight from underneath Batista. And that is what HBK has got to do to combat the power of the animal. Very quick and crafty is HBK, the World Heavyweight Champion since January, and he is been on a roll since then, and is looking to defend his championship successfully at WrestleMania against his former DX teammate in Triple H. Not going to be easy, however. You see Michaels almost going to go for the ride in the power slam, but reverses it and now sent off the ropes, but alas, the animal with a vicious, powerful clothesline onto Shawn Michaels. All of the commotion recently has come to a close, and at WrestleMania the rivalries will be tied up in a neat little bow. Maybe they'll be tied up, maybe more questions will be asked. We don't know, and that's the beauty of WrestleMania. But this is the final show before the Showcase of the Immortals. Shawn Michaels has the task of defeating Batista at the moment, but it is not easy. At the moment on the top on the moonsault. You see Shawn Michaels now firmly in control, but it isn't easy. He's playing to the crowd. Shawn Michaels, one of the most popular superstars in No Limits Wrestling history, and this is why. He can go from technical offense to high-flying offense. He can pretty much do it all. He's a very good all-rounder. And the double elbow to the face, and the athletic kick up by Shawn, but Batista is also back up, and another clothesline by the animal. Live here tonight, you're witnessing episode 19. Michaels is being beaten up by Batista in our opening contest. Batista, if he could defeat the World Heavyweight Champion, would build huge momentum into WrestleMania, and could maybe set up a match with Shawn Michaels if he were to win at WrestleMania. But at the moment it's looking that way. The power slam and the sidewalk slam by Batista, and now going to slow the pace down to his liking. Batista with the headlock applied. You see now Batista fully locked in, but Michaels punching his way out. And now you can see Michaels has to use that. Big chop to the chest, but a punch connecting off the skull of Michaels, and another chop to the chest. Michaels again, a flurry of offense and a crossbody onto Batista. Covers the animal, but a kick out by Batista. Shawn Michaels now telling him to get back up. Does not outweigh Batista, obviously. And you see the power being used by Batista, follows him by the throat. But Michaels reverses again, and the DDT to the skull. Skull bouncing off the ring canvas. And Batista, where it looked as if he was going well, he got too complacent. And now Shawn Michaels going to ascend the turnbuckle to deliver his offense. The elbow drop. Right down on the heart, if Batista has one. Shawn Michaels, now the world champion, going to tune up the band and hopes to put the animal away right here, right now. It looks that way. Sets up switching music, but again, now Batista with the spine buster to Michaels. Shawn Michaels almost hitting his finisher, but to no avail. as Batista manages to get the spinebuster on a spear. Now Batista, the ball is in his court, and he could very well put away the World Heavyweight Champion. Going to pose. The crowd isn't happy, but the fact of the matter is Shawn Michaels is prone. Looks as if it's going to be the Batista bomb, but wait a minute. Batista was going to hit his finisher, but there's the music of Randy Orton. Orton going to come out here and confront his WrestleMania opponent. Early WrestleMania here perhaps, but he's nowhere to be found. The sweet chin music off the skull. The distraction cost him, and Shawn Michaels picks up the victory incredibly decisively. My God, Shawn Michaels with a super kick connecting off the skull, and that may have knocked out Batista cold. But the real question is, Randy Orton playing mind games with his Mania opponent. Batista was outwitted by Randy Orton here, and it cost him dearly. Well, here is the offense that Michaels put to the table. Batista using all his momentum he could, and then as he was about to hit the Batista bomb, got his attention distracted by Orton's music, and the sweet chin music did it for HBK. Batista is standing in the middle of the ring in a state of shock. He could have had this match won. He could have pinned the World Heavyweight Champion here tonight. But heading into WrestleMania, it doesn't look as if he's got the momentum. Oh, wait a minute, from behind. Look at this. Orton with the RKO. Randy Orton coming out of nowhere, seeping through the crowd, and he was here after all. Maybe that slap earlier tonight slapped some sense into Orton. The man who slapped him still there, the world champion Shawn Michaels. He looks into the eyes of Orton, and Orton looks into the eyes of Michaels. He could be after Michaels, but for the moment he's got his vicious side back. We've seen in recent weeks this evil change in Orton, and well, what's he doing? Nah, don't do this. No, don't. This is enough. Enough is enough! Even I think that's gone too far. For God's sake, Randy. My God, getting in his head is one thing, to kick it off of his shoulders is another. Oh my God. Get some help down there. Go and get some help. Despite the fact that this is No Limits Wrestling, sometimes things can go a little too limitless. For example, what you just saw out there. Complete disregard for Batista's health and well-being, but to be honest, Randy Orton does not care. Now, recently you've seen Randy Orton change into this more evil side of his character, something we haven't seen in a very long time. I mean, you saw last week he attacked Shawn Michaels after he felt that Michaels cost him the match, but it was obviously accidental, but you can tell with Orton and Batista's career on the line at WrestleMania, the mindsets completely change. And as you can see there, Randy Orton showing his vicious side after months of frustration, months of being beaten up by Batista over the past few months. It started at the Elimination Chamber, continued into the Rumble and the War Games matchup, and all of that plus tonight, it balled up inside of him, and we thought he was actually going to go after Shawn Michaels, but it turned out he was going to go after his WrestleMania opponent Batista, and didn't even wait until WrestleMania, but kicked Batista's head off of his shoulders. That is basically what happened. Batista, you see there, being put on the stretcher, and I've got to believe, I honestly believe, I can't see how he's going to be able to compete at WrestleMania. Batista scheduled to go one-on-one with Randy Orton at WrestleMania in a street fight where the loser will leave No Limits Wrestling. And Randy Orton, I don't think he even cares about what the fans think of him anymore. I mean, we've all seen the fans feel sympathy for him because they know what he's gone through over the past couple months, but as soon as he kicked Batista in the skull, I knew, and I think they kind of knew as well, that enough is enough. Because at the end of the day, it's still a human being, and with Batista's health in question for WrestleMania, you gotta wonder what Randy Orton will stoop to next. And I think at WrestleMania it's becoming a little bit more one-sided, and you gotta remember that one of those men, Batista or Randy Orton, will not be in No Limits Wrestling anymore after WrestleMania. So God, you just wonder, as Batista's being attended to right now, let's send you on over to the back.
It just had to be you, didn't it? Chris, obviously, that cage on metal was designed to keep you out of it, but obviously you just couldn't keep your nose out of their business. I could tell. But to be fair, what Alberto Del Rio did was unacceptable, and I understand that, and I admire the fact that you took care of your own personal business. I mean, that leap from the cage was pretty damn impressive, and I've got to agree with that. Now, last week, you may have fluked your way to victory against Del Rio because of shoddy officiating, but tonight, you are the special guest referee, not Chris Jericho this week. Last week, Jericho refereed your match against Alberto Del Rio, but tonight, you get to referee Alberto Del Rio's match against Chris Jericho. One last time before you're set to compete for the Intercontinental Championship. Go out there and you can officiate that contest. And, Chris, don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Just like last week, a special referee is made for the match involving the Intercontinental Champion. And here he comes, this week's special guest referee, Chris Benoit. It was last week that Chris Benoit went one-on-one with Alberto Del Rio, and that time the special guest referee was Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho counted a fast 1-2-3, following a slap to the face by Alberto Del Rio, causing Del Rio to lose, and that would mean that Del Rio and Jericho would fight in the back until a match was made for this past Wednesday on Metal. It was this past Wednesday on Metal where that man who's about to come out, Chris Jericho, lost to Alberto Del Rio inside the Lion's Den by submission. It was historic, it was pretty brutal, and after Del Rio was relentless with the cross arm breaker, would not let go of Jericho, and I wonder what Jericho's feeling in that arm, because on Metal it was not looking good. If you saw it, you probably did. Jericho, while in that predicament, was saved ironically by the man who a couple of weeks ago was at his throat. He was saved by Benoit. Benoit coming in, interfering, climbing to the top of the cage and delivering an unbelievable dive from the top of the cage. Well, you see those two men there, the roles are reversed this week. Jericho is the competitor, Benoit is the ref, but this week Alberto Del Rio is still out here to prove a point. Last week he was screwed over by shoddy officiating. However, he would hope that that doesn't happen again this evening. Alberto Del Rio, the Intercontinental Champion, going to defend that championship at WrestleMania in a triple threat matchup against both Benoit and Jericho. He makes his way to the ring now for a match one-on-one with Chris Jericho, with the special guest referee being Chris Benoit. He's got that on his mind, but he's also got this Sunday in mind. WrestleMania, defending the title in a triple threat match. All three of those guys in the middle of that ring will compete for the IC title on Sunday. You see Del Rio looks into the eyes of Chris Jericho. Jericho looking into the eyes of Benoit, and they clearly have unfinished business here tonight. Benoit is the official, and I can tell he's going to call this down the middle to the best of his ability. Jericho and ADR faced off in the Lion's Den. Del Rio was victorious, but I can tell the... Oh, wait a minute. Now both looking at the official. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This... Well, well, I thought this was going to be a match between Del Rio and Jericho, but obviously, what the hell are they doing assaulting the official? No, you don't think. This was a setup. This was a setup. They didn't want to fight here tonight. They wanted to take out the biggest threat. This past week on Metal, Chris Benoit stood tall, and they knew he was the biggest threat. I reckon they contemplated this all along. Jericho and ADR have been in cahoots, and now they've been beating the hell out of Jericho. Jericho has the chair. He's going to beat the hell out of Benoit with it. They're in cahoots, and Benoit drops to the floor. Oh my! Well, at least Del Rio thought they were in cahoots. Oh my god, this is so confusing. Well, Del Rio thought he'd made a pact with Jericho, but apparently Jericho was bluffing. Jericho lied. He's not after Benoit as much. He's out here to make a statement. This was meant to be a match, but obviously that's been thrown out the window. And Jericho has just made the Intercontinental Champion tap out. Chris Jericho with the walls and finally lets go. What a confusing situation. Del Rio needs to learn not to trust anybody. He found that out firsthand here tonight. And he can't afford to make any more mistakes like that heading into WrestleMania. Jericho stands tall over the lifeless body of Del Rio. Benoit was also beaten up here tonight. Well, this is basically how it went down. We thought there was going to be a match, but they both turned against the official, Benoit. After beating up Benoit, Benoit dropped to the floor, but Jericho stabbed Del Rio in the back with a chest shot off of the skull, and then locked in the walls of Jericho. And the winner in all of this is basically Jericho. He made the Intercontinental Champion Del Rio tap out. Now all he needs to do is do the exact same thing at WrestleMania, and he'll be Intercontinental Champion. And look at Del Rio on the floor, but also Benoit. He's livid that he's been double-crossed by the both of them. So confusing. But the fact of the matter is, it's simply put, those three men do not like each other. The only thing they're interested in is the Intercontinental Championship. This Sunday at WrestleMania, Del Rio, Jericho and Benoit for the Intercontinental title. Well, incredible matchup that's going to be, but coming up next week, a six-man tag team match. The Miz, Kane and Mr. Kennedy take on AJ Styles, CM Punk and Sin Cara. All of the Money in the Bank participants set to collide in six-man tag next week.